Hello and welcome to all the members of the Barbarian Horde. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
And today we've got another Siege of the Black Citadel video for you all. I swear, we are going to get Caravan of the Doomed. I'll call it Doomed because I don't know if I can say the actual word here on YouTube. But it does start with a D and end with a D. As for this book, when we last left off, Conan was the one trying to figure out a way over the walls. And the thing is, almost figures one out, but then ends up happening upon that most dreaded and rare type of Pokemon in the Hyborian Age. A fat man. There's a battle over him. Yeah, that sounds funny. And Conan ends up ordering his men to give chase after him. And you have, I think it's Lugan who ends up asking him why. At which point Conan tells him, because fat men always know something, which is pretty funny and silly logic. This might sound weird, but in a slightly more adult Conan story, it wouldn't quite work this way. In this context, it might sound weird, but this almost feels like a book that's intended for boys from 12 to 15 years old or something. It's a very peculiar novel. I don't say that to attack it. No. This is for a younger than average Conan audience. Although I imagine you could probably give the Howard Conan to kids, but in particular Hour of the Dragon, but even then, I'm not sure. But this book, there are moments when it's a bit more adult and times when it isn't. And so I'm not sure how to respond to that. As Chuck Dixon gets pretty blatant at one point when the nobleman is captured and initially willing to share some information with Conan basically making marks on a wall with all right, here's your city. Anything else you might be willing to tell us? The nobleman, Lord Rodian, shares the designs of the city and explains that it's not really the prince who's in charge of the city, but rather a sorcerer, and that Rodian fears the sorcerer. But where it gets blatant is when Conan decides that after Rodian refuses to divulge any more information, such as any more means of getting into the city, or at least to the treasury of the city, as that's what really motivates Conan, he brings in two ladies of the night. Now, I'm not sure what it is exactly they're doing, but they're on the thin line between pleasure and pain, it says. So I'm not exactly sure. It sounds pretty risque, but I think it's meant to be left to your imagination. So what happens is Conan gets the information from the ladies over tips. This is information that's worth quite a bit of cash. And he leaves Lord Rodian to their care before turning around to go into the city. The treasury is at the base of the westernmost tower of the city. So that's pretty much all we got to in this episode. Like I said, the writing style is very basic. This is a short novel, I think. It's almost for those who don't read much, but it's a good... Japan has short novels where it's for people who don't read much. And so you can read it in a hurry. That's where it gets interesting because it's written in that style. Chuck Dixon's not writing in some complicated advanced style. He's keeping it very, very simple. There's not much description, and the chapters are tiny. I don't say this to hate on it. No, I think short novels serve a certain purpose. If they read this, it could serve as an intro to getting them into reading more, such as reading the Howard stories.
A gateway into Howard, because a lot of people say, oh, I don't have time to read, or they don't like reading as much. Introducing something short like this might get them
interested, and before you know it, you can introduce them to heavy-duty reading. And one has to bear in mind that the job of most of the prestige stories is, in my opinion, to serve as an entry to Howard's work. It's the equivalent of using, for example, The Hobbit as an entry to Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion. So, in this regard, Chuck Dixon more than does his job. Now, I don't know if that was his goal, as I've not asked him. Now, honestly, I would love to interview him, but I don't know if he'd be up for that. And this would be one of the questions I would ask him. Now, I know for a fact Dixon has read Conan and is a serious Conan fan. He's admitted as such several times on his channel, which is an excellent one, and several times on Twitter. The big novel. You do need your short little stories in between, very short novels. Honestly, I do hope that they hire him to write a more extensive Conan novel. Seriously, I would much rather he be given a full-time contract writing like a large Conan, The Hour of the Dragon type novel. And I think he could write probably like the second greatest Conan novel of all time. So that's where I think Hero Signatures, I seriously hope they give him a shot for not a short novel, but a major one. But if Chuck Dixon sees this, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button as though you were Conan smashing his enemies to itty bitty pieces.